I went through a very, very dark time of my life during my late teenage years. And this time of my life was just filled with pain and filled with despair. And I really felt like, there's got to be something more to life. This can't be it. It's really, I lacked something in my soul. And I've spoken about how a lot of that had to do with my identity and knowing who I was, because in your teenage years you're very influenced by everything in the world. You're influenced by your friends, you're particularly influenced by the media and by music and the stuff that's on TV, and these were all the things that I was relying on to really know who I was, and I never found fulfillment in that. In fact, I only stepped further and further away from the true essence of who I was. And after this really dark time in my life, what really was the foundational thing that supported me to find myself again was devotion, and was my relationship with God, my personal relationship with God. This was not a relationship through any religion, wasn't a relationship through any stigma or belief. It was just me and God. It was just me and that force that was so big and so vast and such a mystery to me. And this is why I'm deeply intrigued by mysticism, and why mysticism, there's something in that word that really encompasses spirit and God for me, because our relationship to God is an ever unfolding mystery. It's a journey of discovery. Every single step of the way, there's something new to be found. There's something new that unfolds. And when I first tasted this great mystery, this great spirit, it revolutionized my life. It changed my life forever. Because I was fortunate enough to have a very visceral experience of this. It was a very real experience of a meeting with divinity. It was a meeting of the purest love that I had ever felt in my life. It was a meeting of my spirit. It felt like I had been taken out of my body completely, and I had been immersed in just pure divine love. And that's really where I believe my true relationship with God really started. Of course, it started many years before that. It started from my childhood. It started from birth. I was brought up in a family. My grandfather was a pastor. My grandmother was a missionary. And so I grew up in a very religious household, and it was so incredibly good for me to be in that space, because as I was such a sensitive child, I needed that extra support. It's what I personally needed to help me to get through all that I was experiencing. And I remember as a little girl really feeling this deep connection with God, and feeling the protection of God, particularly when I was experiencing extreme fear and stress and anxiety. I would see this light just surround me, and that light always brought me a very deep sense of inner peace. And what happened is, as I grew up, I lost that connection. And I became angry. I became angry with Christianity because there was something about it that I felt was judgmental, and it was also very fear-based. And so as I got very angry with Christianity, I almost renounced God, or just I just didn't feel that it was important for my life anymore. And so instead I rather just let society take me whichever way I felt I wanted to go. And I really, as I say, like, I got myself into a space that was incredibly dark and I'd really lost myself and lost my identity and lost my joy and my happiness. And coming out of that, you can imagine that when I rediscovered God in that way, in that very personal, very real way, that wasn't through any other person's word or interpretation, it was through my own direct experience. That is where I found the truth of my soul, and where I found my devotion. I found my white Shakti. I found my purity. I found my longing to just be and serve and love and live for this greatness, for this beauty, for this immense, divine, unexplainable love. And that's really what I want to share about today, because I feel that society is really lacking in their connection, their personal connection with God. And I think often we'll feel that we're so religious, or we're so spiritual, but we feel that we can only be that way when we're in church, or when we're in groups of people, or courses or trainings. But ultimately, we each have this personal connection with God, with God that is so unique to us. It's so important for us to connect to God in our own hearts and in our own lives, and to start weaving the sacred into the mundane. So weaving sacredness into our everyday lives, weaving devotion into our everyday lives, weaving service into our everyday lives. And this is really what I feel is integrity. Integrity is when we're doing things, doing good things, doing the right thing, even when nobody's watching. We're not doing it to make other people think that we're special, or that we're kind, or that we're compassionate. We just are kind and compassionate. We just show love to people, even the people on the side of the road, even the people who treat us like rubbish sometimes, To be able to come up against that with pure love and kindness, that's our greatest support. It's our greatest, protection. It's our greatest protection, is when we can stand true in our divinity, when we stand true knowing that we have a direct communion and relationship with God, and that nothing can get in the way of that, and it's up to us to foster that relationship. Because I feel that God is always speaking to us. But when we're going through life, we're so busy all the time and we never take the time to really listen, then we miss it, because it's not always a strong slap in the face like, hey, you need to do this. Sometimes it's a gentle whisper. And I found that my strongest communication with God and the way I receive messages is really through my feelings and through my intuition. And so it's taken me a long time to really develop that and get in tune with that and get in tune with my body and listen to my body. Because I know that my body is an instrument for spirit to work through. So it's all about just really taking the time every single day, even if it's just 5 minutes, to really just tune in, to still your mind, to be quiet and to listen. Because there's always messages, there's always signs. And also just trusting that a lot of the stuff that we go through in life, we don't have to carry that. This has been a big thing for me to realize, is that I don't have to carry everything on my shoulders, and that I have a support system really helping me, and that I can trust in that support system. And when I'm stressed out, I can hand that stress over and I can come back to the peace within my soul, knowing that everything's always working out in my favor, even when it looks like it's falling apart. And that's what I think faith is, and that's what I think trust is. So I wanted to share that because I think it's important. It's an important thing for us to connect to in ourselves, in our hearts, in our lives, because that's really, it is the great mystery, it is the great spirit. It is a constant learning, a constant deeper initiation, deeper understanding. Our relationship with God never reaches a plateau or like an end point. It's constantly evolving. And no matter where you are in that relationship, know that it's an important part of that relationship, and that it can only grow, and that all you need to do is put your heart and put your devotion into seeking what that mystery means for you, and it will reveal itself. And I often ask God to reveal itself to me, and it never happens really in the way I expect it to. It happens more in ways that I need to learn and to grow and to understand, not only about that great mystery, but about myself. Through learning to understand myself, I learn God. So I'll leave it there, and I will see you tomorrow.